Your thermometer climbs to 95 degrees, your garden starts wilting, your tomatoes drop their flowers, your lettuce bolts overnight, and you're standing there with a hose wondering if anything is going to survive what's coming. That moment, that specific frustration, is what this video is about. Most gardeners plant what looks good at the garden center in spring and then spend the hottest months watching it struggle. The problem isn't the gardener, the problem is the plants. Because fighting summer heat is the wrong strategy entirely. The right strategy is choosing vegetables that were built for it. Plants that come from the hottest, driest places on Earth and produce their absolute best harvests when the temperature refuses to drop. Today, I'm showing you 7 of them. Not just heat-tolerant, heat-powered. Every week, we explain what actually works in a real garden under real conditions. Stick around, because number 3 on this list produces more heavily in 100-degree heat than it does in mild weather, and number 7 is the one I forgot to water for 3 weeks, came back expecting disaster, and found it thriving. Bigger, fuller, loaded with fruit. That one changed how I think about summer gardening completely. Number 1. Peppers. Peppers have a relationship with heat that's unlike any other vegetable on this list. Most vegetables tolerate heat. Peppers respond to it. The hotter the summer, the more intensely flavored, more productive, and more vibrant the harvest becomes. Here's the biology behind why. Capsaicin, the compound responsible for heat in hot peppers, is produced in greater quantities when the plant experiences heat stress. A jalapeno grown in a cool, mild summer produces moderate heat. The same variety grown through a brutal summer produces fruit that's measurably, noticeably hotter, and more complex in flavor. The heat you're enduring in your garden is literally going into the pepper. Think about what that means. Every difficult, uncomfortable, relentlessly hot day your garden experiences this summer, your pepper plant is absorbing it and converting it into flavor. The suffering of the season becomes the quality of the harvest. There's something almost poetic about a vegetable that turns the hardest part of summer into its best product. Sweet bell peppers work differently, but benefit just as directly. They need sustained warmth to develop full size, deep color, and that characteristic sweetness. Grown through a hot summer, they turn red, yellow, or orange more quickly and with more sugar than peppers grown in moderate conditions. Start peppers indoors 8 to 10 weeks before your last frost date. They're slow to establish and need the head start. Transplant once nights stay consistently above 55 degrees. Water deeply, but allow soil to dry slightly between waterings. Peppers prefer moderate moisture and produce more heavily with occasional mild stress than with constant dampness. California Wonder, Carmen, and Cajun Bell are reliable performers. One productive plant gives you more peppers across a hot summer than most households can use fresh. The heat made every single one of them better. That's the deal summer makes with peppers, and peppers always hold up their end. Number 2. Watermelon. Watermelon didn't adapt to drought conditions. It evolved in them. The wild ancestors of every watermelon you've ever eaten came from the Kalahari Desert in southern Africa, one of the harshest, driest environments on the continent. Drought isn't a challenge watermelon overcomes. It's the condition the plant was designed for. That origin changes everything about how you think about growing it. You're not nursing a delicate fruit through difficult conditions. You're giving a desert plant the summer it's been waiting for. Where you are in the country shapes how you plant it, but not whether you can. In the warmer southern half of the country, zones 8 through 11, watermelon goes directly into warm soil and the long hot season does all the work. In the cooler northern zones, 5 through 7, start seeds indoors 3 weeks before transplanting and use black plastic mulch to warm the soil. You're giving the plant a head start, not fighting nature. Plant directly in the ground rather than containers. Watermelons need room, and their extensive root systems are part of what makes them drought tolerant. The deeper the roots go, the further they reach for moisture that surface-level plants never access. Here's the most important thing about watermelon that most guides get completely wrong. Once fruits are developing, golf ball to softball size, reduce your watering significantly. Consistent heavy watering during fruit development produces large, watery, low-sugar melons. Reducing water as they mature concentrates the sugars in the flesh. The result is a watermelon so sweet that cutting it open in your backyard on a hot afternoon is one of the genuinely great experiences of summer. You grew it from a desert plant. You let the heat do its work, and the heat gave you back something extraordinary. Number 3. Okra. This is the one I told you about, the vegetable that produces more heavily in 100-degree heat than in mild weather. Experienced gardeners who've grown it through brutal summers call it one thing consistently: unstoppable. They're not exaggerating. Okra is the only common vegetable that genuinely accelerates production in extreme heat. While tomatoes slow above 95 degrees and cucumbers struggle above 90, okra hits those same temperatures and produces faster. The hotter the day, the faster the pods develop. In peak summer heat, a mature plant can give you a harvestable pod every 24 to 48 hours from a single plant, continuously for months on end. The reason goes back 3,500 years. Okra originates from Northeast Africa and South Asia, where it's been cultivated in environments of extreme heat and irregular rainfall since before recorded agriculture. Its entire biology is tuned for the conditions that defeat everything around it. This isn't a plant adapting to your difficult summer. This is a plant returning to its natural home. Sow seeds directly in the ground. Okra establishes best from direct sowing, not transplanting. Soil temperature needs to be at least 65 degrees. Soak the seeds in water for 12 hours before planting, and germination speeds up noticeably. That one step, costing you nothing but time, often cuts the waiting period in half. Now the most important rule: harvest every pod at 3 to 4 inches every 2 days without exception. Miss one harvest and let a pod mature on the plant reads it as a signal that its season is complete and production drops dramatically. Pick everything young and consistently, and the plant behaves as if summer has no end. Clemson spineless is the classic. Burgundy adds drama with red pods and edible leaves. 3,500 years of heat. Still unstoppable, still producing when everything else around it has given up. Number 4. Sweet potato. The summer I grew sweet potatoes was the summer I barely showed up as a gardener. I planted them in late spring, watered them once, and then got completely overtaken by everything else. The tomatoes needing attention, the peppers needing feeding, the lawn needing mowing. The sweet potato bed got nothing. No watering beyond what rain provided, no fertilizer, no attention through the worst heat of the season. In fall, I went back to that bed with a fork, mostly out of guilt, and pulled up the most abundant harvest I produced that entire year. Large, deep orange, perfectly formed sweet potatoes from a bed I had essentially abandoned. That's not an accident. That's the biology of this plant working exactly as it's designed to work. When heat, stress, and drought arrive, which they did that summer, sweet potato redirects its energy underground into the tubers. The harder the conditions, the more the plant focuses on producing the part you eat. Neglect doesn't diminish the harvest. In many cases, it improves it. Now here's the practical part, and it flows directly from that story. Sweet potatoes are grown from slips, which are small rooted shoots that grow from the parent tuber. The same process that made my neglected bed successful starts with a jar of water on a sunny windowsill. Place a sweet potato in water in early spring, leave it in a warm, bright spot, and within 2 to 3 weeks, shoots emerge from the top. When those shoots are 4 to 6 inches long, twist them off and plant them directly in the garden. That's a slip. That's how your summer of neglect begins. They grow in every USDA zone from 3 through 11. The widest growing range of any vegetable on this list, covering every single American state. In northern zones, start slips early indoors. In zones 7 through 11, they need almost no management at all. Harvest in late summer to fall when vines begin to yellow. Cure the tubers for 10 days in a warm, humid spot before storing. This converts starches to sugars and develops the sweetness. Plant them, then mostly leave them. Summer will do the rest. Number 5. Pumpkin. Most people think about pumpkins in October. The gardeners who actually grow them start thinking in spring, because a spectacular fall harvest requires a summer planting. And a summer planting requires understanding one thing about timing that most guides skip entirely. Pumpkins need 90 to 120 days to mature. Plant them when soil is consistently warm after your last frost date, and your harvest lands exactly in fall. When the vines naturally die back, the fruits reach full color. and porch displays and winter cooking both happen at once. The hot summer isn't something to work around. It's the growing window that makes the fall harvest possible. Sow seeds directly in the ground in hills, a traditional method that groups 3 to 4 seeds in a raised mound of enriched soil. The mound drains better, warms faster, and concentrates nutrients in a way that accelerates early growth. Plant in full sun, the most exposed, hottest position you have. Pumpkins want that exposure. Space matters. A standard variety spreads 8 to 10 feet in every direction. If space is limited, Bush, Sugar Baby, and Cinderella stay considerably more compact while still producing full-sized fruit worth growing. Water consistently during fruit development. Pumpkins are heavy producers and need adequate moisture to build large fruits. Then, when vines begin yellowing naturally in early fall, stop watering entirely. That final dry period toughens the skin, concentrates flavor in the flesh, and extends storage life dramatically. A pumpkin from your own garden sitting on your porch in October carries the whole story of what summer produced. Not just a decoration, evidence of heat endured, of something planted and tended, of a season that gave back what you put in. Number 6. Cucumbers have a reputation for struggling in heat. That reputation comes almost entirely from one mistake: planting the wrong variety. Standard slicing cucumbers slow down above 90 degrees, but heat-tolerant varieties perform beautifully in the same conditions. Diva, Marketmore 76, and Armenian cucumber, a variety grown in the dry Middle East for thousands of years before it reached American gardens, tolerate heat and drought that would stop conventional types entirely. Plant in full sun after your last frost date when soil is warm. Train cucumbers vertically up a trellis, a fence, or a simple cage rather than letting them sprawl. Vertical growing improves air circulation around the leaves, reduces the fungal diseases that attack ground-level foliage in humid summer heat, and makes every fruit visible and easy to harvest. That last point, visibility, leads directly to the one rule that determines whether your cucumber harvest is spectacular or disappointing. Pick every cucumber the moment it reaches usable size. Every single one. A single overripe cucumber left yellowing on the vine signals to the plant that its reproductive work is done. Production slows almost immediately. Pick daily during peak production, and the plant keeps giving as if summer has no end. Miss a few days, and the window closes faster than you expected. Here's the reward for staying on top of it. A cucumber picked from your own plant and eaten within the hour is crisp in a way that disappears within 24 hours of harvest. The freshness the grocery store version never has, that snap and brightness, is yours every single day you keep harvesting. Number 7. Eggplant. And here we are at number 7, the one I told you about at the beginning. The summer I forgot to water it, I came back expecting to find a dead plant. What I found was a thriving one bigger than when I left. Fuller in foliage, loaded with deep purple fruit hanging heavy on the stems. I stood there looking at it for a long moment before I understood what had happened. Solanum melongena, eggplant, is native to South Asia and has been cultivated in India for over 4,000 years in a climate of intense monsoon heat followed by long dry seasons. The plant that arrived in your garden center in a small plastic pot carries 4,000 years of adaptation to exactly the conditions your summer creates. When drought and heat arrive together, eggplant doesn't struggle. It recognizes the season. It knows what to do. The practical side first, because the varieties you choose matter. Black Beauty is the classic American eggplant, large and glossy and reliable in every hot summer state. Now, the thing about freshness that the grocery store never tells you. Eggplant begins developing bitterness within 24 to 48 hours of harvest. The bitterness that makes some people claim they don't like eggplant is almost entirely a consequence of age. A fruit picked days ago, stored in refrigerated transport, sitting on a shelf. An eggplant picked from your own plant and cooked within hours is a completely different vegetable. Silky, mild, almost buttery when roasted, the most forgiving plant on this entire list, and the one that tastes most different from anything you've bought once you grow it yourself and eat it fresh. That's eggplant. That's your summer garden. 7 vegetables, all built for the heat, all producing their best when summer is at its most brutal. Stop fighting your summer. Plant with it. Drop a comment and tell me which one you're planting first. I read every single one. I'll see you in the next one.